Well, hey there. So, sales. This is the first of many courses we've got that cover high-level sales technique. Wait, that kind of sounds a bit dirty, doesn't it? Yeah, the term sales or salesperson nowadays kind of has a bit of a negative connotation to it.
You got my support, fellas. What kind of work do you do?
We're telemarketers.
In fact, I talk about it in one of our YouTube videos. The reality is that selling stuff is what makes almost every industry on earth tick. It's simply part of the service that we offer in the restaurant industry. We're going to give you the tools to not just up your sales, but up your service at the same time. So, the 5 points of sale. These are the 5 basic, fundamental, strategic pillars that'll apply to sales in almost any industry. Let's get kicking. To get started, let's lay down our foundation of sales and service. The first thing we got to do is embrace what's called the service mindset. I know that sounds just awful, but it makes a difference. What does that mean? Well, it's a bit of a weird name, but what we need you to do is think of the actual sale itself as secondary. What is the primary part? Well, as cheesy as it sounds, it's the journey we go on to get to the destination of that sale. Embracing the service mindset is pretty simple, actually. All we got to do is understand that our sales aren't transactions. They're services. Even if what we'll be selling is another service, the service we're giving is ensuring that whatever we wind up selling to whoever we wind up selling it to is going to enrich their experience, their life, their night, whatever it may be. This is so foundational because it keeps us away from that negative idea of sales. We're not a sketchy MLM person pushing snake oil on people without caring because screw them. We're making sure that our client is going to look at that product or service and be happy that they spent the money. This is also just a practical and ethical approach to business. We're not ripping people off, and we're avoiding that whole situation of someone coming to us and going, "Hey, you ripped me off." This separates the truly great salespeople of our time from the amateurs. There's a reason that rich folk stick with the same real estate agent, the same car dealer for decades. They know that that person can be trusted to get them what they actually need, not just screw them to get 10% more cash that one time. Always remember that. I'd rather take $10 from someone 10 times in a month rather than take $20 from them once and never see them again. It's pretty easy to understand, I think. 10 times 10 is, well, I'm pretty sure, more than 20 times 1. I don't know. I'm no Stephen Hawking. So that's going to take us to our next foundational step, understanding what the sell is in our industry. So we got our table, our people at the bar, whatever. We know already that they're here to buy something, right? Otherwise, why are they here? So what we're doing is upselling. Oof. I hate that word. Because it just sounds dirty. And for damn good reason. Because shady ass bartenders and waiters just love ripping people off. Fun fact, these cats might make good money in the short term, but just watch their careers hit a wall in the future. So, what is not a good upsell? Well, for starters, it's not about selling whatever's more expensive. That's not upselling, that's being a scam artist. And I've been there. Funnily enough, not as a scammer, mainly because I've never had the balls to try and screw people, but the amount of times that I've had to deal with the fallout of my team doing it is crazy. One of the more recent memories, just from a couple of years back, I was a beverage manager for a restaurant group in Dubai. and the owners had just hired a new GM to take over one of the restaurants. I was stoked. Now I could do my job instead of just focusing on running one restaurant. Dear COVID, first week in, one of our regulars calls. Furious. Dude is pissed. He's in the lounge of this joint and orders his usual Don Julio margarita. A round for the table. Does this GM ask him for which Don Julio? Nope. Goes right on ahead and punches 1942. Guy drinks Blanco, by the way. Thought they tasted weird, but not bad. And just kind of shrugged it off, right? Then the bill comes. What should have been a couple $100 is suddenly $1,000. It didn't make sense. All our waiters and all our bartenders know this guy and know what he drinks. I tell him not to worry about the bill and rush over. GM's excuse? Well, if he wanted Blanco, why didn't he say so? Yeah, guess who I made pay that bill. So what is a good upsell? It's about layering on items, experiences, or modifications that are going to make sure that they have the best time possible. It's about adding value, not adding dollars. It's about asking yourself, as a waiter or as a bartender, hey, what's going to make their night even better? Let's use a favorite, or maybe not favorite example of mine, because it happens so rarely that it's depressing. When I go out, I usually drink beer or wine. On the rare occasion that I'll bother with cocktails, I'll probably order a Negroni. Now, what do I want to be asked when I order my Negroni? Great, and what gin did you want with that? I'm using this example because generally gin has the smallest price range compared to other spirits. There's probably not going to be a chance to tack on too many bucks onto that Negroni. But what there is a chance for that waiter or bartender to do is make that Negroni my Negroni. Shit. The price might even be exactly the same between gins, say, like Beefeater, Bombay, and Tanqueray. Thing is, this dude loves Beefeater. Instant guarantee that I'm going to be sitting there doing my weird little excited Beefeater dance. Judge me if you want, but you get the point, right? So next up, hard sell and the soft sell. Or easy sell, as it were. So what's the difference? Hard sells are when we're selling something that someone doesn't think that they need. Hey, maybe they don't actually even know it exists. Simply put, in order to execute a hard sell, we have to create a need for that product in the mind of the consumer. Soft sells? This is more like an enhancement of something that they were already going to buy. So let's look at these two in a very simple restaurant setting. Forget drinks for now. Hard sell. What's something that a lot of people skip at restaurants? Appetizers. So what we got to do is create a need for them to have appetizers. And the soft sell. We already know a main dish is coming, but we don't want every table ordering the single cheapest main dish on the menu. In this case, we got to think about guiding them towards what's going to give them the best experience, not what's just going to be cheapest or simplest. Hard sell, soft sell. Pretty simple, right? There are countless ways, however, to approach and execute them. So let's talk about the first step towards figuring out which way we're going to execute whichever sell. The first step is reading your guests. Read your tables. This is a really common phrase in the restaurant industry, but often it doesn't get elaborated on. Look at it as every table, every bar guest, every person in the restaurant, bar, nightclub, having a story to tell. Is that table perhaps a couple on a date? Is it a bunch of friends gearing up to finish their night by getting rowdy? Maybe it's a business dinner. Maybe it's a family dinner, but a family with young kids, or maybe everybody all grown up. Is it a celebration or is it a serious night? So let's look at some examples of reading. And we'll briefly touch on what we get out of reading the groups that I just mentioned. Couple on a date. Right, let's ramp it up. First date. I love serving first dates. Almost a stone cold guarantee that one or both of them is going to be hugely nervous, and I'm a bad person. I just like watching them sweat. The most basic thing, though, that I want to do as a great waiter is make each of them look as awesome as possible in the other's eyes. What about that group of friends all in their late 20s on a big night out? To use a poker term, I'm going to call and raise them on that energy. I'm the conductor in the circus. I'm making sure that they don't need to make serious decisions and can just focus on having fun. The business dinner. Well, we've got to use our sales skills to help someone else make a sale. Salesception. If you don't get that, watch Inception. That family with young kids, how can I make sure that mom and dad can actually get a break from their screaming demons for once? The family that's all grown up. Who's the big chief in this family, and how do I stoke mom or dad's ego? Now, there are a lot of factors we can read on a table that we go into in some of our more advanced courses. But let's now look at some basic things we can do to hit that goal I have for each group. Date night. Easiest thing to do to bring them closer comes at the end of the meal. I am making sure that they share a dessert. In fact, I don't want each of them having an individual dessert. Too sterile. Sharing a dessert is going to get them into each other's space and more involved with each other. I am not going to focus the entirety of my attention on, in my case, the lady on the table. Really quick way to get a complaint. Those rowdy friends, I always tell them about the tradition I have with my friends. It's a lie. I don't have any friends. After each course, we gotta have a shot. And a different person's gotta do a toast each time, and it's gotta be funnier than the last. Easy way to get them all laughing and making fun of each other. The business dinner. Well, for starters, I'm gonna tone my ass down a bit. And what I'm gonna do is deal as much as possible only with the host of the table. I'm going to consolidate the idea that they are important and in control in the eyes of everyone else on the table. I'm working with them on food and wine selection, selling just to them to help them impress their client. Ugh, kids. My opinion on kids aside, I'm gonna sell distracting those monsters to the parents. Easiest thing? I'll ask mom and dad if they want me to take care of the kids' food first. Maybe I make sure the kids finish up with ice cream. Anything to let the parents focus on each other without letting my restaurant, of course, get held hostage by some crazy toddler running around. That grown-up family, probably still one person paying. Maybe dad, deep down, misses being able to tell his kids what to do, say, and think. Same approach as the business dinner. In a way, making whoever's the patriarch or matriarch feel like they're in charge again. So let's consolidate what we learned so far. We've pretty much gone into the essence of what sales really mean. It's about service and about adding value. Always remember that 10 times 10 is greater than 20 times 1. It's not about adding dollars to that bill, it's about adding the value, the experience that's going to get them to have a great night and come back to the venue. Identify the difference between a hard sell and a soft sell. Do we need to create a need for a certain product category? Or do we just need to shift and guide them towards the thing that's going to elevate their experience the most in a category that they're already buying in? So finally, the 5 points of sale. Seems like we're never going to get there. Let's lay them out and then apply what we've learned so far. The 5 points are opening, qualifying needs, the pitch, the assurance, and the close. The opening, that first impression. It's a stereotype, but you really do only get one chance to make a first impression. This is where we set the stage for the entire experience. Let's look at our family with kids and our business dinner. The family. I'm going to greet everybody, but then also pull the kids' attention to myself by saying hi directly to each individual kid. I'm showing the parents, don't worry, I got this. The business dinner. Well, hopefully whoever's hosting has let us know ahead of time. I'll be a little bit more formal, but then I'm going to make sure that I'm only asking the host if they'd like to see a wine list or if they'd like to start with drinks. I'm showing everybody that the host is the big cheese. Qualifying needs. This is where we start to understand our guests and therefore start to understand what it is that they need. We got to get onto their frequency. With both our friends group and our grown family, what I'll do without fail is ask, what are we celebrating tonight? It might be nothing, but I'm opening the floor to them to start telling and showing, or showing and telling me what their vibe is. Now, of course, if everyone's super morose, I might tone it down a bit. The pitch. So we've set the scene for how we're all going to get along, and we've tuned into what kind of experience our table is after. Time to convince them to get what we want them to get. But remember, we're not pitching a dish or a drink at this point. We're pitching an experience. Whatever menu item, it's just a tool that I'm using. An old classic that'll never go out of style in higher end restaurants. For a couple on a date, I'll ask them both, not facing an individual, looking at both of them. Perhaps a glass of champagne to start. We're validating the special nature of the night, and we're doing it with products that people look at as special. And in a more traditional setting, I'm not asking the gentleman, even if I'm looking at him. You can't say no. The assurance. This is where we address concerns, answer questions, clear doubts, but most importantly, remind everyone who's really in charge here. Me. You. Remember, I'm not going to use my control to rip them off. Let's look at our grown family. In a restaurant where dishes are shared, oftentimes people won't have a singular clue of how much food to order, unless maybe they really know our menu. So I'll hit them with, so for 4 of you, I think we'll need to go for 3 appetizers, 4 mains, and a couple of sides. That'll make sure nobody finishes hungry, but still leave a little room for some sneaky dessert. I am your Sherpa. I'm your guide. Stick with me and you're gonna have a great time. Now, the close. We put everything in the box, wrapped it up nice. And now what we gotta do is finish it with a pretty bow. Seems kind of dumb, but this is what repeating orders is more important for than just reminding people of what we discussed 30 seconds ago. And rather than just reading a list, what are we gonna do? We're gonna tell them a story of how their dinner's gonna go. Great, so let's just go through that. We're gonna start out with Cobb salad for the table, along with the grilled calamari and those awesome crab cakes. Once we're done there, we got the crispy salmon fillet and the grilled cod. And I'll make sure those come right out with the zesty Brussels sprouts. Then we've got the ribeye coming out, medium rare of course. Right alongside the roast chicken, and alongside those, we're gonna do the Hasselback potatoes and the grilled asparagus. Fantastic. Now let me check on those drinks for you. I haven't just repeated the order that's boring, that's flat. I mean, an iPad can do that. I've shown them the cinematic trailer of the movie that they're about to see. They're comfortable, confident, and relaxed. They're feeling taken care of. Now, no matter what you do going forward, always remember the foundations we discussed and these 5 steps. Even if this is all that you choose to learn, this will really help set your service apart. We've got so many sales courses coming up. Maybe they're already available. I don't know when you're watching this. At the core of those is an in-depth dive into tools to really develop each of these 5 points. My favorite of the lot, that's got to be the psychology of sales. Always focus your sales on selling that service and selling that experience. Just you wait. You won't just see your sales numbers increase, but you'll have great experiences with your customers. You'll have them asking for you, and you'll have them constantly coming back for more. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out our other courses and make sure you check out our YouTube channel for a whole lot of stuff we're actually giving away for free and a lot of hot takes on the hospitality industry. Me? I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.